humans, my name is Dael Kingsmill. I have a story for you today. It's the story of Daedalus. It's gonna get more hits because of Icarus than because of Daedalus, but you'll find very quickly that Icarus was not a big deal in Greek mythology. Yet he's one of the things that we've clung to the most. So Daedalus, for anyone who doesn't know, was sort of the finest craftsman in all of Greece. He was a very famous inventor, and he was thriving. He was thriving in his life in Athens until his nephew was born. His nephew came along and was just so much better at inventing than Daedalus was. His nephew's name was Talos, but he had like three different possibilities. Like he could be named Talos or Kalos, I think, and then a third name that sounds nothing like it that starts with P. Perdix? That rings a bell, but I also might just be making up a name. Anyway, dude had three names, and he was super good at it. He was just such a natural. He invented the potter's wheel. That's pretty neat. Where would we be without that? The movie Ghost never would have happened. Never would have been made. We would hunger for its touch. That mats thing, the thing where you twirl it, it draws a circle. He invented that. But his most successful invention was he one day he was wandering along and he saw a snake skeleton, and he saw the jawbone. It had these little serrated teeth along the jawbone, and Talos Kalos Perdix thought to himself, you know, I could use that. And he invented the saw. Everyone went wild for it, and that was the last straw for Daedalus. This kid was meant to be his apprentice. He was meant to be following in he's the master, kid's the apprentice. So he couldn't have the kid inventing the saw. Oh. So one day, Daedalus took his nephew up to the Acropolis and he said, "Behold, Talos Kalos Perdix, everything the light touches. Take a look. No. Take a closer look." And as Talos leaned out over the edge, Daedalus gave him a shove. Full on shoved the kid off the Acropolis to his doom. And everyone in Athens said, "What the hell, Daedalus?" And they tried him for murder, found him guilty, but before his sentence could be carried out, he left. He escaped, but we don't get any details of like an escape plan or anything. So as far as I can tell, he just like chartered a boat. So that's how Daedalus ended up in Crete, where he became advisor to King Minos. You know King Minos? Very famous man. Little background on what's happening with King Minos at this particular point in time. In a bid to legitimate his own claim to the throne, Minos prayed to Poseidon and said, "Hey, can you like send a bull out from the ocean as like a sign that I should be allowed to rule, and then I'll sacrifice it to you and it'll be sweet." And Poseidon thought, that's a sweet deal. I'll make it the prettiest damn bull the world has ever seen. Just, you know, make the sacrifice all the better for me. So Poseidon puts together the world's prettiest bull, marches it on up out of the surf, and Minos says, "Damn, that is one handsome bull. I think I'm gonna keep it." So he got legitimized, he got his place on the throne, but he did not sacrifice the bull, which I'm sure you've guessed was a bad idea. The relationship between Minos and his wife was already pretty strained. You can hear about some of these exploits in a previous video I've done. It's a doozy. So anyway, Poseidon decides to capitalize this by causing Pasiphae, Minos' wife, to fall in lust with the bull. Of course, how will I punish this one singular dude? I know, I'll make his wife get horny for a cow. Greek gods are the worst. So anyway, Pasiphae is burning up with passion for this pretty cow, and finally she confides in Daedalus and says, "What am I supposed to do? I'm really digging that bull." But how would that even? How would we make it work? How could I possibly attract that bull to myself? Daedalus is like, we could. it's not an impossible feat. My best theory is that he was fully aware of how Pasiphae could have him killed. So Daedalus Constructs, basically, he builds a box and puts a cowhide over top of it. Because what is a cow if not just a box with skin? And Pasiphae crouches down inside the box, and they leave it in the field with the handsome bull, and they just wait. Clearly the plan is successful, because 9 months later, a little baby Minotaur pops out. The Minotaur, I'm sure you know, was born with the head and tail of a bull, but the body of a man. Well, I mean, I assume the body of a baby first. I found this picture. Isn't that cute? Little baby Minotaur. Minotaur, of course, is a very straightforward name. Bull of Minos, Minotaur. But there are some records that suggest that the actual, like, proper given name of the Minotaur was Asterion, which would mean that it was named for Minos's adoptive father. Which is a little weird. Minos is like, ugh. And he goes to Daedalus and he says, here's what I'd like to do. You're real smart. Can you build for me a huge underground maze complex that can serve as both home and prison to this horrible, horrible, hideous beast? And then, I don't know, I'll feed him youths every so often. Daedalus by now is thinking, what the hell have I gotten myself into? Why did I come here? This place is bad and I'm required to do insane things. But Daedalus isn't that good a dude, so he builds the maze. Then cue Theseus. In amongst all the Theseus happenings, Ariadne, the daughter of King Minos and Queen Pasiphae, she comes to Daedalus and she says, if someone, just hypothetically, if someone were to navigate the maze without knowing the whole blueprints, what would be like the easiest way and quickest way to navigate the labyrinth, would you say, as the person who designed it? Daedalus, confronted by yet another royal, says, I guess one easy way would be to have like a ball of string, and if you attached it to the door on your way in, then you could just unwind it as you walked, and in order to find your way back, just ravel it back up again. I don't know how big balls of string were in ancient Crete, but I'm just saying at some point my friends and I found a bunch of tunnels under our school, and I did this as we started crawling around trying to navigate our way through them. You run out of string real quick, is all I'm saying. But in the myth it works. Theseus uses the string, he kills the Minotaur, he gets back out, he escapes with Ariadne, and when they go to investigate the crime scene they just find a bunch of string. Now Daedalus is in trouble off King Minos. Either because King Minos found out that he'd advised Ariadne about the string, or because Minos just worked out that the Minotaur wasn't his son after all, and that Daedalus helped his wife sleep with a bull. For one of these reasons, Minos is very angry at Daedalus. And he says, you, Daedalus, and your son Icarus, who is only now being mentioned for the first time, are to be imprisoned in your own labyrinth forever. Minos is really keen on this labyrinth as a prison idea. I'm just saying, if you wanted to lock up the Minotaur, he probably could have just put him in a normal cell. Saved a lot of time and money. But Daedalus has been preparing for this day. He's had awkward favors asked of him by all the royals for years now, so he's been prepping for a need to escape. He's been making himself wings out of feathers and wax. And some wings for his son too. Icarus gets wings too. You all know where that's gonna end. He and Icarus, before they can be taken by the guards, they rush up to the craggy cliff tops, and Daedalus says to his son, look, Icarus, don't fly too high, because if you get too close to the sun, the wax is gonna melt, and the wings will come apart and you'll fall to your death. And don't fly too low, because if you get too close to the water, it's gonna wet the feathers and the wings will become too heavy and you're gonna drown. And with that word of warning, the two of them take off and begin flying to the east? In a direction. They begin flying! And lo and behold, during the trip, Icarus gets too caught up in the exhilaration, the freedom of flight, and he begins to fly too high. He gets too close to the sun, the wax on his wings melts, and he falls to his death. Where, interestingly, Heracles finds his body and gives him a proper burial. I do think it's interesting that this is one of the stories from Greek mythology that we've really grabbed onto. This tiny little snippet in which Icarus exists. We use it as like a moral tale for, you know, don't get too big for your britches. Don't fly too close to the sun. You know, Icarus was too proud. It was his own hubris that was his undoing. But I mean, it really wasn't pride though, was it? It was, I mean, if anything, it's hamartia. His flaw was more likely, you know, naivety or optimism. Those were his flaws rather than pride. If you really, I'm just saying that the story that we should be using, there is a story for that. We've got Bellerophon, who literally decided that he was cool enough that he should be an Olympian god. And he tried to fly up to Olympus on Pegasus. Boom, horsefly, fell to his death. I'm just saying, we have that story. Why did we make Icarus that story? Oh well, so's Icarus. Go down in history as a bit of an idiot when really he was just a kid. So Daedalus keeps on flying, and he makes it to Sicily, where he's greeted by the king there, whose name I have trouble saying. It's Cocalus, but I keep trying to call him Coca-Colas. Anyway, Daedalus is still a good inventor, so the king is very happy to welcome him into his home and take him on as an advisor. But Minos knows about Daedalus's escape, and so he scours every land. So Minos is famous for his fleet, right? His naval fleet. And so he can reach every island, every crevice. He goes everywhere, hunting him down. And it takes years. And what he does is that everywhere he goes, and he's doing it himself, by the way, personally pursuing Daedalus. He takes with him everywhere he goes a seashell, like a spiral seashell, and he offers a huge monetary reward to anyone who can thread a string through the seashell, because he figures that the only one smart enough to do it would be Daedalus. So finally, when one day King Minos makes it to Sicily, he offers his reward, and the king, Coca-Colas, takes the shell from Minos and says, I'm just gonna try threading it in the back room. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Takes the shell to Daedalus and says, thread this shell, I'm gonna get so much money. And so Daedalus says, well, the answer is obvious. And he ties the string to an ant, puts the ant near the hole in the pointy end of the shell, and puts like a dollop of honey at the opening, and he lets the ant crawl through the shell towards the honey, dragging the string with it. Aha! Betcha didn't think of that. I don't understand. I feel like the more impressive feat is tying a string to an ant. That's way harder than just threading a string through a shell. Are you kidding me? But King Coca-Cola brings back the threaded shell, and Minos says, aha! I know you've got him here. You're hiding Daedalus, and I'm not leaving till I get him. And the king goes, ah, okay, I see that I've messed up here. Fine, you caught me. I'll bring him on out to you. You just relax, have a nice bath. My lovely daughters will draw you a bath, and we'll be right back with your fugitive. Don't you worry. Don't mind if I do. So Minos lays back in the bath, and the daughters all come out with things full of water, and they say, I hope you enjoy this hot water. And they pour it on him, but it's boiling water. It's not just hot, it's boiling water, and they boil Minos to death. So Daedalus just gets to live. That's the end of the story. I hope that you enjoyed that story. If you did, you know how the internet works. We've got all the buttons. I hope that everybody is staying safe. #safe. If you are someone who followed this channel from the days of old, back in the Geek and Sundry Vlogs days, back when mythology was really all this channel was about, I suppose, when I was but a wee babby, this weekend the other Vlogs fam and I are planning on doing a reunion live stream. We used to do Cougarpedia hangouts where we just get together and talk about geeky stuff. We haven't done that for years now, but since everyone is stuck at home, we thought, hey, we should try and get one together. So we're looking at doing that on this channel. I'll make sure that there's like a lead up premiere-y thing so that you know when it's going to be happening. So yeah, if you want to blast from the past, or if you want to meet some cool people, if you're newer to the channel, then I hope you join us. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Apart from that, I do believe that's it. I'm done. Email this to your grandma, and I will see you some other time. This shoulder wiggle that I did, I've become a big fan instantly.